Alright guys, let's talk about the Wilwood big brake kit that we installed on this a month or two ago now. Overall though, we have put 1,600 miles on it. So what, we did a 250 mile race with it. After that we did a 900 mile loop down the Arizona Peace Trail. I would say that that was realistically 60 to 70% race pace. The group that I usually ride with, none of us like to go super slow. So there were parts of it that were basically like at race pace, you know, just because I was down in Arizona and I had the open real estate. I figured, why not? And then, so what? The race was in 70 degree, you know, beautiful heat, you know, beautiful day. Arizona was, you know, 50 to 80 degrees again, nice and dry. And then since then, it has had about 200 miles of, you know, I'll say backwoods riding here in the Pacific Northwest, which is a significant amount of mud and puddles. And it has also had about 250 miles of snow riding on it. I feel like at this point, I can now give my honest, well-rounded opinion of what I think of these brakes, and the good, bad, and the ugly. And there are some ugly. What the kit cost, I think it was like $1,300 or so. This is their actual racing brake kit. It has the gray anodized calipers on it. It's not like the nice, shiny, glossy, you know, black or red calipers that I wish it had, but I totally understand why. It has the anodized calipers because that's supposed to dissipate heat better, and at the end of the day, I want this to perform well in racing conditions because that's where I need it. So why did I buy these? To begin with, I mean, as most of you know, if you're watching this video, you know the brakes suck on the Can-Am. Tremendous suspension, awesome engine, it will go like a bat out of hell right until you hit that brake pedal, and then you realize I may have overbaked this. Especially once you start adding all the weight on, you know, all the weight with tools and spares and stuff like that we take when we're out racing and play riding, all the added weight from the gusseting, you know, the aftermarket cage and all that stuff, right? It starts to add up. It starts to get heavy. So the stock brakes were not working. So what I did is I actually made my own. I made my own oversized brake kit. It was a 298 millimeter rotor, which is a lot bigger than stock. And I made my own relocation bracket to basically just move the stock caliper out just to accept the bigger rotor. That was a definite improvement. We ran that for 3,000 miles, 2,000 miles. We ran that for a significant amount of time, and it worked great. Until leading up to this last race we did while pre-running. We're coming through this fast section, wide open, 93 miles an hour. Coming into a hard 20 mile an hour right-handed turn. It was even uphill, so I didn't have to brake as hard as I needed to because it was, you know, uphill, so allowed to scrub speed. So once we got back, found out that I cracked both front rotors basically from the inside all the way out to the outside. So those boys were done. Those custom rotors that I designed them myself, I'm an engineer, so I designed them myself and I had them cut and stuff like that. I started out with brake rotor blanks, so they were the proper tempered stainless that they needed to be and stuff like that. Had them water jetted because I didn't want the added heat of like a plasma, you know, table or something like that to cut them out because I didn't want them to change any of their temper. So anyway, those brakes cost me like $800 to have just the front two rotors made. You know, after I ordered blanks and the machine time and blah blah blah, that's what it cost. So I was like, well, I don't want to have these last me not very long again, right? I don't want to be doing this all the time. So that's why I ended up buying these brakes. And because these have 6 piston calipers. So I was kind of like, all right, hopefully this will solve my issue. I only did fronts just because money, and I left the rears alone. The rears right now are just just an aftermarket rotor, but stock position. So immediately I could tell the difference in the brakes. The brake pedal feel didn't change too much, but let me turn that off. The brake pedal feel stayed about the same, right? Same master cylinder, so it's not going to change a ton. But what I noticed is with these racing pads, once they get hot, they're a lot grippier. They got a lot more bite to them. And as they get hotter, they get more bite to them. You know, you're not going to stop any faster with these brakes than you will stock brakes. The only difference is I'm going to be able to use one foot and barely think about it. You're going to have to use both feet and really try to lock up the brakes, right? What defines braking distance, given the same weight of a vehicle and the exact same surface, is your tires and contact patch, right? If you can make that tire lock up, right, with whatever brakes you have, at whatever level of effort, right, as however much, you know, contact patch and however sticky the tire is and however, you know, well it will bind to your surface, that's what will define how fast you can stop. This is all about decreasing the effort I have to put into stopping this. There were several times in the past where I would be coming into a corner, right, coming into a corner a little hot, and my mind would go from thinking about setting up for my turn to, you know, now I'm like 50-50. I'm thinking, man, I gotta really like push on these brakes more to slow down, right? And now I'm half thinking about driving the car and half thinking about braking. To pretty soon I'm like, okay, I gotta really slow this car down right now. Right now I'm not even paying attention to the corner. That's not good. So with these, I don't have that. You know how when you're driving something, you put your foot on the brake and you kind of just know after driving anything for a while, like any car or anything like that, you know like roughly how hard you should have to push on the brake to get a certain amount of deceleration. I felt like with the stock brakes, you don't get that at all. Like I feel like you have to hammer those brakes. I feel like the stock brakes are basically grease brake pads squeezing against a paper plate. I don't feel like they do anything. Whereas these, when you put your foot on them, you get a proportionate amount of whoa, right? It's a proportionate amount of deceleration. So it's a lot more predictable, and the consumables are a lot cheaper, right? The rotors were only $91 a piece to have to replace. Super easy to replace. Brake pads are the same price as stock brake pads, but they are incredibly easy to replace and fast, and I can get different temperature ranges. So here's how easy it is to change the brake pads on these. So you just gotta pop this clip out, and then both brake pads come right out. If I had new ones, I would put new ones in there obviously, but I don't. That is all there is to swapping brake pads on these, which is absolutely awesome. Done. Look at that. Ready to rip. So, for all this stuff, they are way better for racing. For racing. I found out where they suck. We went and played out in the mud for a day, and puddles and stuff like that, and I got these things soaking wet and cold as hell froze. It's like 35 degrees out. So, did this really cool, like, drone shot flying across a bridge, and out of view of the drone shot, this was a logging road, went across the bridge at like 65 miles an hour, and then out of view of the drone shot, it was actually a hard, like, right-hand turn. And I remember getting on the brakes thinking, holy shit, I'm not gonna make it. So pitched the car sideways and stuff, and basically had to like 4-tire drift it to try to scrub more speed and stuff and, you know, get around the corner safely. Because the brakes were cold and wet, they didn't work at all. Mind you, we'd been out play riding all day. I had put zero thought into getting temperature into these brakes. Rookie move, I know. I know better. I've spent way too much time racing, way too much time with racing brakes. I know better. I know. So that is one area where they are less than ideal. You know, when they're cold and when they're wet. Same thing when we're out in the snow. Luckily though, it's snow, so you don't really have to push on the brake pedal that hard to get them to lock up, but they're still not that great in the snow. You know, they'll work. I think in the snow they are still just as good as a stock brake setup, for sure. Like in the snow, I would, doesn't matter which one you choose, they're both not going to be great. But once things start getting faster, I think these are hands down well worth their money. And unfortunately, I think Wilwood did almost too good of a job because just having their front brake kit on here, I don't totally feel the need to go out and buy the rear set. Like, the fronts work really good. My OCD, just because I want them to match front and rear, you know, I feel like I should go buy it just because of that. But otherwise, they did a really good job, and they work extremely well for what they were made for. Now, if you guys if you guys just don't do racing, you know, and you still think the brakes suck, and you want a better brake, just buy their regular big brake kit. It comes with a totally different pad compound that you will not have the same issues that I have in cold weather. Now, mind you, if I tried this last time we were out, I drug the brakes a bunch, like while we were driving around. Not ideal to be dragging the brakes while you're also on the gas, but I wanted just to see if I get a bunch of heat in these things, are they going to work well? And they work super good. It was just like how they're supposed to work. It just, you have to get that heat into them. So if you buy their regular big brake kit, the ones with like the super pretty calipers, you'll get a regular compound pad that will have a lot more bite to it at that lower temperature that you need. So that's what I would do if I was just out play riding and stuff like that. And they'll still work for, you know, obviously hauling ass on the trails and stuff like that, out in the desert, playing around, you know, still going to work for that. It's just when you're doing 400 miles of high speed, you know, 100 miles an hour to 20 all the time, literally all day, that's when it becomes, you know, you need something a little bit better. And you can also buy these same pads, and they will fit in the normal Wilwood big brake kit. They won't fit, you know, stock setup, but you can still get these same pads for the other regular brake kits. You can kind of have the best of both worlds there a little bit. So I hope that kind of helps you guys. Overall, super glad I did it. Given the chance, I'd do it again. Given the chance, had these been out when I made my rotors, I even called Wilwood and asked them, just because engineer, if I could work with them to help them make a set of brakes. And at the time, they told me, hold on, we have something in the works. I could not hold on, so I made my own, because who knows how long that would take, and it took a year and some change. You know, but luckily, they did come out with them. So overall, really like them. I would highly recommend them. I got these ones from Summit. I'll drop a link in the description below and stuff, just if you want to check them out and stuff. And I'll also put the other, you know, the regular brakes down there, the ones with the really nice powder coated calipers, so you can check those out too. But I hope this helps somebody out there, because there are no reviews on these things anywhere. And to me, $1,500, $1,200, it's a lot of money to spend without having really any reviews to go off of. Before I bought mine, I talked to S3 Racing. They said that, you know, they told me they had got a set for free, you know, because, well, they're a big company. He said, but they really, really like using them. And he said, basically, Wilwood told them, hey, here's a set for free, but anything after this is on you. And he said that was a year and some change ago, and he said, and so obviously we burnt through all of that. He said, we keep buying new stuff from them, you know, to keep like all the consumables, right? And he said, we're sticking with them, and we're not changing, even though they have to pay normal retail price too. That's all I had to go off of. So I hope that this helps somebody else out there make this decision. You will not regret it. I will also, in the description down below, I'll drop a link to the installation video. Install was not hard at all. Just remember, you're gonna have to bleed the brakes, so you're gonna need a buddy. You know, bribe him with some pizza or some beer or something like that, you know. And overall install didn't take more than a few hours. It was no big deal at all. I'd highly recommend them. Hopefully this helps you guys, and hopefully we'll see you up in the desert.